individual economies of the SADC member states, and Zimbabwe having the privilege to host the SADC Industrialization Week, one of the events that will be held as a precursor to the forthcoming 44th SADC Summit of Heads of State and Government that will be taking place in August. My name is Justin Mahlahla, and I'm joined by my co-presenter.
Livuka njani mile Zimbabwe ngiyabonga Justin, ibizo lami nguFarai Mongazi. Ngapha eHICC lapho kuqhutshwa khona umhlangano wesikhombisa weSADC Industrialization Week, wona ohlose ukuthuthukisa amabhizinisi akulomkhono weSADC. Indikimba ehamba nayo lonyaka ithi ukusekela imicabango emitsha ukuze kuthuthukiswe inotho yolumkhono weSADC. Justin.
Certainly, Farai, the theme for this year's 7th SADC Industrialization Week is promoting innovation to unlock opportunities for sustainable economic growth and development towards an industrialized SADC. Of course, this theme drawing from the SADC Industrialization Roadmap, that is also a creation of resolutions made on the 36th SADC Summit that was held in Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe, when Zimbabwe hosted the SADC Summit of Heads of State and Government, and the issue or the thrust of industrialization of SADC economies was topical at that discussion, and then it was adopted into a roadmap, and the roadmap running from 2015 to 2030, and this is what the SADC regional bloc is focusing on until 2030, also resonating with Zimbabwe's own vision 2030 of an industrialized and a modernized as well as an upper middle income society by 2030. So this morning the Vice President General retired Dr. Constantino Chiwenga will be officially opening the SADC Industrialization Week that has drawn interest across industry, across captains of industry, across commerce, even players in agriculture, in mining. All people, all sectors that matter are here today. I've seen the arrival of the Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion, who is also here to give his remarks. And of course, we are waiting to hear from the Vice President as he officially opens this conference today.
Ngeqiniso Justin, sibone umsekeli kamongameli welizwe uDr Chiwenga okhona lapha ukuvula ngokusemthethweni lo mhlangano we7th SADC Industrialization Week, wona ohlose ukuthuthukisa amabhizinisi akulomkhono weSADC ukuthi kube lobudlelwano phela nxa kulokulolongwa kwempahla ezitholakala emazweni akulomkhono weSADC ukuze kuyenze kube lengqobela phambili kwimisebenzi yokuthengiselana kwali kumazwe aweSADC, njalo futhi kuyikukhuthaza lokufundisana lokuphanana amacebo kulabo abakumabhizinisi atshiyeneyo kumazwe akuSADC.
Certainly, it's a platform for networking. You remember, Farai, that the first SADC Industrialization Week was held on the sidelines of the 36th SADC Summit in Eswatini, that's in 2016, followed by South Africa in 2017, and Namibia in 2018, the United Republic of Tanzania in 2019, and Malawi in 2021, and the Democratic Republic of Congo in 2022. There was no Industrialization Week in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and also the event was cancelled in 2023, but it's back now, the 7th edition of the SADC Industrialization Week, which also, as we said earlier, follows the industrialization strategy that has been set forth by the SADC regional bloc. And that strategy, it has an action plan that was divided into two phases. The first phase running from 2016 to 2020, and the second from 2021 to 2030. So activities that were supposed to be met under the first phase included development of a SADC protocol of industry, alignment of national industrial policies with the industrialization strategy, development of a SADC raw material initiative, identification of regional value chains, and establishment or strengthening of national and regional innovation systems.
Yebo Justin, lapho sikhuluma ngoSADC Industrialization, sibona ukuthi lo umqondo owasungulwa lapho kwaqhutshwa khona umhlangano lapha oweSADC ngomnyaka ka2016 eVictoria Falls. Sibona ukuthi iIndustrialization Week yeSADC isike yahamba, imihlangano isike yaqhutshwa eSwatini ngomnyaka ka2016, yaphinda yaqhutshwa elizweni leSouth Africa ngomnyaka ka2017, kuthi ngomnyaka ka2018 yaqhutshelwa eNamibia, ngomnyaka ka2019 yathutshelwa eTanzania kodwa ngomnyaka 2020 ayisaqhutshwanga ngenxa yokumemetheka komkhuhlane we-COVID, and then ngomnyaka 2021 yaqhutshelwa eMalawi, ngomnyaka 2022 yabiqhutshelwa eDRC.
Certainly, and it continues to grow from strength to strength. You look at how SADC member states are coming together to create a strong voice in terms of conquering regional and international markets. SADC member states also working on strategies for development of raw materials, working together for beneficiation, for value addition of their products and raw materials. And this is what exactly will be discussed here today during this event and also the rest of the days. We'll continue to give you updates as we follow proceedings.
And direct. In this room, there are over 60 journalists. In this room, there are over 400 researchers in different respects. There are definitely over 600 storytellers who will, on one day or another, talk about this day. I would like to encourage all of us to write something about today. And it will be a historic moment, a telling moment for the SADC region, where the population of 365 million have come together with a combined GDP of 700 billion to say we are open for business. We have invited our friends across the globe to come and meet and strike business deals. And that is the whole purpose of this meeting together. So, Honorable Vice President, this is what you are seeing. But I'm also seeing something here. I'm seeing a commitment from SADC people to follow the instructions from their heads of states and government. Way back in 2014, a determination was made to make SADC a greater region through industrialization. And industrialization is only possible through investment, and that's why we are here today. And what I see here, Honorable Vice President and ministers, ladies and gentlemen, I see something special. I see three things. I see intent for radical industrialization in our region, which is transformative in the sense that it would like to transform the people of SADC region to relate in the continent as Africa, and then to relate and be members counted on the global community. The second thing I see is capacity, the capacity to deliver. I see the delegates here who have come from all over the world with capacity to deliver the investment that we are looking for. I can't even mention the trillions of dollars that are available here for investment in Zimbabwe. Then the third thing, which is most important, is I see the capacity to absorb that investment. And how is this capacity defined, Honorable Vice President? It is defined by the 9 investment promotion agencies that have come here today in one room to call and promote the investment opportunities that are in our region. I also see 16 business chamber organizations from all the member states that are here to encourage investment in our region. And in our region, we see, as SADC, have identified 45 major projects that runs into the trillions, and that's the demand that is there. Honorable Vice President, with these remarks, I would like to say welcome, everyone, and I want to thank every one of you here for making time for this investment forum. And I will not leave this without thanking all the people who made it successful. Thank you very much.
Please, a big round of applause. Permanent Secretary, Zimbabwe's Ministry of Industry and Commerce, Dr. Wushe. Now, just to buttress Dr. Wushe, for those of you who don't see on my left here is a beautiful choir, marimba band from the Prince Edward School. They are called, their great name, Rhythms of the South. So this is a welcome to Zimbabwe from Prince Edward. Rhythms of the South. Thank you. and gentlemen, rhythms of the South, a big round of applause. It always puts a smile on my face when I see the future, the youth, the future playing and doing so well. Thank you. Now then, please join me now in welcoming our next speaker. He's going to be speaking to financing industrial developments to attract private investment into the SADC region. Please join me in welcoming Zimbabwe's Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion, Honorable Professor Ntuli Ngube. Sir, please, a big round of applause. Thank you.
The Director of Ceremonies, Andy Hodges, the Honorable Vice President, General Retired Dr. C.G.N. Chiwenga, Honorable Retired Colonel K.C.D. Mohadi, who is Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe in absentia, the Minister of State for Provincial Affairs, Devolution for the Harare Province, Honorable Senator C.Z. Tawengwa, the Minister of Industry and Commerce, Honorable N.M. Ndlovu, the President of Senate, Madam Chinomona, other honorable ministers here present, we welcome you. Honorable Deputy Ministers here present, we welcome you. The Deputy Executive Secretary for SADC Secretariat, Madam Angela Makombo Ntumba, officials of the SADC Secretariat, the Secretary General of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, His Excellency Wamigele Mene, heads of diplomatic missions here present, honorable members of Senate and Parliament, the Chief Secretary to the President and Cabinet, Dr. Martin Rushwaya, Deputy Chief Secretary is here present, the Permanent Secretary for Industry and Commerce, Dr. U.T. Ushe, and all other Permanent Secretaries here present, service chiefs, senior government officials, the Executive Director of the SADC Business Council, Mr. Peter Van Del, the Unit Deputy to the Director General and Managing Director, Directorate of the Global Partnership and External Relations, Mr. Fatou Haidara, captains of industry here present, distinguished investors and exhibitors, media houses here present, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. Let me begin by welcoming you all, especially the visitors to Zimbabwe. I wish to express our deepest appreciation for the opportunity to host the first ever SADC Investment Conference, a prelude to the 44th Ordinary Summit, SADC Summit of Heads of State and Government. We shall be running under the theme Promoting Innovation to Unlock Opportunities for Sustained Economic Growth and Development Towards an Industrialized SADC. I invite our international guests to experience the splendor of a beautiful country and generosity of the people of Zimbabwe. We're a peace-loving nation, renowned for our unmatched hospitality and stunning natural beauty, from the majestic Victoria Falls to the serene landscapes of the Eastern Highlands. I'm honored to be speaking on financing industrial development to attract private investment into the SADC region during the investment conference. Building forward better will not be possible without reigniting investment, both domestic and international, as an engine of growth. Industrialization and innovation help to unleash dynamic and competitive economic forces that generate employment and income opportunities within the SADC region as a whole. Attracting investment is one of the core objectives of the SADC regional economic community and is a powerful vehicle for developing infrastructure, enhancing participation of economies in regional and global value chains, and empowering the youths and women, as well as in alleviating poverty. I'm glad that member states acknowledge and see the importance of creating a favorable investment climate in order to value add on our natural resource endowments, as well as diversity of our economies in pursuit of regional industrialization. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the SADC region is endowed with strategic natural resources, from oil to gas and a variety of minerals, whether it's gold, diamonds, copper, etc. We have it all, to fertile arable lands that sustain agricultural production, inland waterways, which enable hydropower generation, as well as unique flora and fauna, and astonishing marine resources that sustain the development of the tourism industry. Notably, there are some of the sectors with guaranteed return on investment for investors. Let me turn to the business and investment environment within the SADC region. The SADC region accounts for about 28% of Africa's GDP, 26% of Africa's total population, and attracted 30% of the total foreign direct investment inflows into Africa over the last decade. The SADC region is among the 8 regional economic communities working towards integration of the African continent. The SADC region economic growth averaged 2.2% in 2023. I'm cognizant of the difficulties developing countries are facing. The SADC region in particular is facing mounting public debt that is limiting the region's ability to invest in core industries and infrastructure. Within the African region, SADC region rather, most balance sheets have been severely weakened, especially after COVID. And the average public debt in the region is around 59.2% of gross domestic product. With some countries in high risk of debt distress spending more on servicing external public debt than investing in transformative programs and projects. In addition, rising geopolitical tensions and climate change impacts have affected all member states, resulting in reduced productivity, increased. We now estimate about 132 million people in the SADC region have become food insecure. Furthermore, the majority of SADC countries are still dependent on primary industries and rely heavily on one country, being South Africa, as a major trading partner. And South Africa is among key emerging markets among the developing economies. Hence, excluding South Africa, the majority of SADC countries are yet to see significant industrialization. The major challenges facing the region to industrialize include the lack of long-term finance, macroeconomic instabilities, and limited fiscal space to address gaps in economic enablers, coupled with long-term decline in official development support. In this regard, attracting foreign direct investment and intra-SADC investment will enable the productive capabilities of the region and promote macroeconomic convergence and integration of financial markets, as well as build capacity to participate in continental and global value chains. This will enable the regional transitions from exports of unprocessed natural resources, primary products, into processed high-value goods and services. Let me turn to the environment for doing business. On a positive note, over the years, member states have managed to align policies and regulations with regional frameworks for improving the business environment in line with the World Bank Doing Business indicators, achievements having been registered in particular in reducing the time and cost of starting a business by simplifying procedures and accelerating processing of applications. Furthermore, a number of countries have set up electronic single-window services systems, enabling investors to identify and apply for approvals as per their business requirements. To attract investment in specific sectors and increase exports, countries in the SADC region have developed special economic zones backed by physical infrastructure developments and necessary tax incentives. Let me turn to the SADC Industrialization Strategy and Roadmap 2015 to 2063, looking at the priorities around regional value chains. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, the primary orientation of the SADC Industrialization Strategy places importance on technological and economic transformation of the SADC region through industrialization, modernization, skills development, science and technology, financial strengthening, and deeper regional integration. In this regard, the key priority sectors for an inclusive and mutually competitive growth of the region have been identified as agro-processing, minerals beneficiation, downstream processing, and enhanced participation in value chains at the national, regional, and global levels. Consequently, aligning the SADC Vision 2050 with which envisages the economic development of the region through sustainable use of natural resources and progressive industrialization of the region anchored on the development of regional value chains identified in key sectors, and these sectors are also key for the SADC region to participate in regional value chains under the AfCFTA. In this regard, industrial development and market integration, infrastructure development in support of regional integration, the social and human capital development are therefore key to the attainment of the SADC Vision 2050, where all stakeholders have a role to play, in particular the private sector, which is instrumental in both the development of infrastructure and the industrialization process. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say the following in terms of investment opportunities at regional level. The SADC region has huge investment opportunities, ranging from sectors such as mining, tourism, energy, infrastructure development, and agriculture. The Industrialization Initiative further offers an unlimited range of investment opportunities through value chain development, mineral beneficiation, and downstream processing. In the mining sector, the region contributes about 55% of the world diamond production, which while in the platinum group of metals, the region contributes about 72% of global output. Let me hasten to say, in the lithium sector, the region has a vast deposits of lithium that you mainly find in Zimbabwe and DRC, and other energy minerals such as cobalt, copper, and graphite. In addition, the region has a wide range of minerals that support various industries, from the manufacture of catalytic converters to computer chips. Hence, the industrialization and value addition, with industrialization and value addition, the region can set the pace on production and global price developments. I'm aware of the initiative, we're all aware of the initiative, for example, that has been put together between DRC, Congo, and Zambia to establish battery manufacturing capability in terms of lithium batteries to deal with the future energy demands. The region also has an abundance of arable land with the capacity of ensuring food security for the region, the continent, and the global economy as a whole. Let me turn to Zimbabwe. We are in Zimbabwe, so I have to say a few things about Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe has become a self-sufficient agricultural powerhouse in the production of wheat, with a record high harvest of 468,000 metric tons in 2023, which was a 25% increase from the year before. And there are more opportunities for the private sector to invest in agriculture and agro-processing in Zimbabwe. Furthermore, the region is endowed with vast waterways, such as the Congo and Zambezi, with the Inga Dam situated on the Congo River offering sites with potential hydropower resources that would be enough to address the energy requirements of the entire region and beyond. According to the African Development Bank, the total hydropower potential in SADC countries is estimated at about 1,080 terawatt hours per year. However, capacity being utilized at present is just under 31 tera-hours a year. I would want to commend the African Development Bank for their continued support to African member states and towards the development of the SADC region in infrastructure development, particularly the energy sector. In addition, efficient and affordable infrastructure services are critical inputs for reducing transaction costs for industry and trade, as well as for enhancing the economic and social well-being of society at large. Consequently, cross-border infrastructure investment opportunities exist in all infrastructure areas, mainly upgrading and greenfield projects in transport, in energy, in ICT, and in water supply sectors. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, let me reiterate that finance is a binding constraint to industrialization and the development of infrastructure, critical for promoting and sustaining regional economic development, trade, investment, and poverty eradication, as well as improvement of social conditions. Let me first of all address the operationalization of the Regional Development Fund, the RDF. In sub-Saharan Africa, the vast majority of infrastructure stems from public sector, and given limited fiscal space, the operationalization of the RDF is key in bolstering infrastructure development to attract the private sector investments into the SADC region. I'm delighted to inform you, delegates, that His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Dr. Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, has expressed interest in championing the operationalization of the fund during his tenure as the SADC chairperson. Consequently, I encourage member states to commit to ratify the agreement and subsequently contribute towards the fund, as this shows our collective commitment for our development agenda. Another crucial aspect of the development agenda is the establishment of shared cross-country infrastructure, which enable member states to leverage international financing, share borrowing risks, and access a broader investor base with higher potential returns. For what is worth, Honorable Vice President and colleagues, Zimbabwe has been assisted by two countries, which I will not mention in this meeting, to access global capital using those countries' own credit standings to access capital to finance infrastructure development in our health sector, but also to contribute towards the development of power infrastructure on the Zambezi River. So the idea of sharing risk in this way, relying on each other, is critical for our regional development. Let me turn to development financial institutions. Development financial institutions, DFIs, are critical for the mobilization of resources and implementation of national development plans, targeting key areas such as infrastructure, agriculture, micro, small and medium enterprises, and industrial development. To date, the DFI network membership in the region increased to 41, this is in 2023, from as low as 17 in 2003. I now turn to capital markets. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, many countries in the region continue to implement reforms to foster capital market development, thus allowing the private sector to better manage interest rates, maturity risk associated with long-term investments. 12 countries within the region have established public capital markets, primarily dealing in equity and bond instruments with a total capitalization of 1.56 trillion US dollars, or 261% of GDP. Already, policymakers have taken steps to improve financial product diversity, and in total, 7 SADC countries already offer what you call exchange-traded funds, or ETFs, which allow for lower costs of trading and for cross-border investments. 4 countries offer green bonds and other sustainable products, including Mauritius, Namibia, South Africa, and Tanzania, which launched what you call a Jasiri bond. A Jasiri bond is the first gender bond in sub-Saharan Africa, and its proceeds benefit women-owned and women-focused enterprises. 11 countries have set up alternative exchanges for small to medium-scale enterprises, but only South Africa and Mauritius have gained significant traction, with 36 and 40 SME listings, respectively. Furthermore, the Interconnectivity Hub project is a regional initiative being spearheaded by the Committee of SADC Stock Exchanges and supported by the AFDB, where stock exchanges will be interconnected, allowing companies wider access to capital within the SADC region, and therefore financing industrialization in the process. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, consolidation of capital markets entails a more diversified product range and promotes cross-border capital flows. Since in the stock exchange industry, size does matter and liquidity creates even more liquidity. Domestically, Zimbabwe launched the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange in September 2021 to attract foreign direct investment, providing a gateway for companies in Zimbabwe, SADC, and the rest of sub-Saharan Africa to raise capital in hard currency. The establishment of VFX, as we call it, marked the beginning of the establishment of the International Financial Services Center in Victoria Falls, hence kickstarting the Victoria Falls Special Economic Zone, thus encouraging participation of private sector in productive investments. A few words about climate finance. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, climate change is one of the most pressing issues of our time, with far-reaching consequences for our planet and its inhabitants. It is essential to acknowledge the urgency and significance of climate change and take collective action to address its causes and mitigate its effects. In the same vein, we must explore innovative solutions and leverage the ongoing financing for development climate change financing. Carbon credits are a key component of the international efforts to reduce forest resources, as 41% of SADC total land area is covered by natural forests that provide timber and non-timber forest products. Hence, by leveraging carbon credits, the region can unlock benefits that support sustainable development, economic growth, and climate resilience, while contributing to global efforts to combat climate change. I mentioned earlier about high levels of debt. Let me say something about debt restructuring. It is apparent that developing countries are grappling with heightened debt vulnerabilities, as indicated by subdued solvency and liquidity indicators. In this regard, debt restructuring initiatives and more effective implementation of debt relief programs, such as the G20 framework, would free up financial resources which can be channeled towards industrialization, driving economic progress and development. In fact, we've argued in other fora globally that the G20 framework needs to be reformed so that when a country enters the process and begins restructuring its debt through this process, all interest payments should be suspended so that it can fund other programs while it is restructuring its debt. Let me turn more broadly to the reforming the global financial architecture to support our development, our industrialization. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, the global financial architecture is tilted against developing countries, from a low share of SDR quotas that were extended by the IMF to higher coupon rates in the dual interest rate system. I can tell you that, Honorable Vice President and colleagues, a few years ago, we used to borrow in Zimbabwe at something like 8% per annum in terms of access to capital. Right now, we're borrowing at about 12% in terms of the debt that we're able to access. And this has nothing to do with the credit rating of the country, and every other country can tell a similar story. It has everything to do with the tightness of credit markets, and this is really prejudicing access to capital for industrialization, for development, and hampering the progress of development that is much needed. The high interest rates is exerting fiscal pressures everywhere, and this needs to be reformed. But also, I must say that the tenure of most of available finance globally, development assistance, needs to be more concessionary, it needs to be scaled up, it needs to be more accessible, it needs to be more long-term. We need 40-year capital, not 10-year capital. So capital should be provided at scale, more concessionary, more accessible, and more long-term. 4 key pillars for the reform of the global financial system. Therefore, it is imperative, Honorable Vice President and colleagues, that SADC should speak with one voice and should support the continental voice for the reform of the global financial architecture for the benefit of our industrialization agenda. In conclusion, one of the most urgent tasks is to change the prevailing negative perception concerning the investment climate in the region by providing potential investors with correct and balanced information about the opportunities and risks of investing in African countries. And this includes, Honorable Vice President and colleagues, the creation of African-based credit rating agencies that are able to assess African risk accurately, regional SADC risk accurately. In the same vein, I encourage member states to continue their efforts to improve their investment climate and economic performance, and sharing information with respect to investment opportunities, laws and regulations as enshrined in Article 27, which refers to cooperation in promotion of investment of the SADC model bilateral investment treaty. As I conclude, it is imperative that SADC should collaborate and speak with a common voice. A substantial degree of unity of purpose is essential if we are to achieve sustained economic growth and development through industrialization. I thank you. Obrigado. Merci beaucoup.
Please, a big round of applause. Zimbabwe's Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion, Professor M. Ngube. Welcome to Day 2, the Insurance Conference at the 7th SADC Industrialization Week here in Harare, Zimbabwe. Wherever you are within SADC, the 16 nations, all around the world, you can watch this conference in the 7th Industrialization Week live on Zimpaper's TV network Facebook page and at ZTM Prime and all other platforms, and of course, Ministry of Industry and Commerce Facebook page is streaming this live. Now, I'd also like to acknowledge and welcome the President of the Senate, Honorable Chino Mona. Welcome, Honorable Chino Mona. Now, then all morning we've been saying, welcome to Zimbabwe. Well, welcome to Zimbabwe.
Welcome to Zimbabwe. We are delighted to show you all the opportunities that await you in Zimbabwe as we are here to inspire you to invest in our country. Zimbabwe is home to vast mineral resources, arable land, and rich water resources. There are great opportunities in mining, agriculture, and value chains across all sectors of the economy, and we want you to be part of it.
Mining in Zimbabwe is the backbone of the country's economy. We have vast mineral wealth in gold, iron, lithium, platinum, diamonds, chrome, coal, and many other precious minerals. And with recent developments in technology and electric cars, lithium has become an essential element in our daily lives. And right here in Zimbabwe, we have access to some of the largest and most high-quality lithium deposits in the world.
With our focus on beneficiation, we invite you to take advantage of high-quality metals to create new industries across the various mining verticals that can help to deliver high-quality products to your domestic markets, whilst taking advantage of our special economic zones that can create faster returns on investment for you and your business.
The potential for growth and profitability in mining is immense for investors and many foreign and local businesses that have taken the opportunity to spearhead their own success. And we at Zimbabwe Investment Development Agency are prepared to make the process of investing in mining seamless and efficient.
Zimbabwe is renowned for its fertile soil and climate, and agriculture plays a key role in our economy. Our fertile land and abundant water resources are suitable for a variety of crops and livestock. We offer vast opportunities in horticulture, livestock, and cereal farming.
You can rest assured that our skilled farmers, favorable climate and soil, sufficient water sources, and
take advantage of over 60% of the population making an income through agriculture to create networks of local farmers ready to focus on the crop production stages, allowing you to create export-ready products and services aimed at the markets you serve.
This reality is being achieved in areas of cooking oil product, blueberry export, tobacco, chia seed exports, and so much more. With agricultural production in Zimbabwe set to reach nearly $6 billion, the sky is the limit for what you can achieve in the industry.
These gains couldn't be achieved without ensuring that the support networks in transport, energy, and irrigation are working hand in hand to make all these opportunities a reality. We have several rivers, lakes, and dams that provide an excellent source of water for irrigation. And with more than 33 million hectares of arable land, our potential in irrigated and mechanized agriculture is immense.
Our government has allocated funds for irrigation systems across the country, and we invite investors to join our efforts to promote sustainable agriculture and create jobs in our country.
At the Zimbabwe Investment and Development Agency, we guarantee a safe and conducive investment environment, and through our one-stop investment services center, we provide investors with privileged access to information on investment opportunities, available incentives, and the legal and institutional framework across all sectors of the economy.
So why wait? Contact Zida today and learn more about the many investment opportunities in Zimbabwe. Let's grow together and create a better future for everyone. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in Zimbabwe.
Thank you. A big round of applause. Zida there and the opportunities that exist in Zimbabwe. Welcome, of course, to the 7th SADC Industrialization Week. Today is the Investment Conference. The overall theme, promoting innovation to unlock opportunities for sustainable economic growth and development towards an industrialized SADC. Now, I'd just like to remind you of some of the issues because this talks directly to our keynote presentation that's coming up next. The SADC region contains a diverse range of natural resources, including a majority of key minerals for feedstocks in regional manufacturing, agriculture, construction, power, and other sectors. Nevertheless, the SADC region has not been able to industrialize and achieve structural transformation. Our keynote presentation, talking to key interventions to catalyze industrialization and boost intra-regional trade. Please welcome, big round of applause, Mr. Dennis Denya. He's the Executive Vice Chairman, sorry, my mistake. He's the Executive Vice President, AfCFTA. Dennis, thank you. Big round of applause, thank you. Welcome.
Allow me to stand on the protocols already observed, but I would like to make special mention of His Excellency, Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Honorable Dr. C.G.D.N. Chiwenga, Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion, Honorable Professor Mthuli Ncube, Minister of Industry and Commerce, Honorable Mangaliso Ndlovu, the AfCFTA Secretary General, the SADC Secretary General, and all protocols observed. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you as we gather here today for this SADC Investment Forum, convened in collaboration with the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, the Zimbabwe Investment and Development Agency, ZIDA, and the SADC Secretariat and other esteemed partners. It is with deep appreciation and gratitude that we acknowledge the collective efforts and unwavering dedication that have culminated in the realization of this highly anticipated investment forum. Today, I'm calling on all of us, policymakers, entrepreneurs, project developers, financiers, and facilitators to join forces as we deliberate and strategize on advancing the cause of industrialization through Africa direct investment and foreign direct investment within the SADC region, as the Minister of Finance highlighted earlier. Your being here this morning underscores your commitment to the economic growth and development of SADC and the African continent as a whole. I do look forward to engaging in thoughtful discourse on how we use trade, investment, and industrialization to transform our continent. The theme of the forum, promoting innovation to unlock opportunities for sustainable growth and development towards an industrialized SADC, is both timely and critical. I would also like to believe that the decisions we are going to make during this week and the investment opportunities that we are going to identify through this forum will ripple through current and future generations, impacting livelihoods, industries, and communities. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for our countries to industrialize, especially during this, the fourth industrial revolution, we need strong partnerships. We need all hands on deck. We need the academia to produce the required skills. We need governments to provide the enabling policies and regulations. We need the private sector to come up with innovative products and take the necessary risks, and development partners to provide the enablement and appropriate funding. This morning, I'll focus my intervention on how African multilateral institutions such as AfCFTA can contribute to this important agenda of catalyzing industrialization in the SADC region. In line with its role as a Pan-African multilateral trade finance institution, AfCFTA has been providing thought leadership in the area of trade and investment promotion over the last 30 years. Industrialization and export development is the second pillar of our sixth strategic plan aimed at transforming African trade. Everyone in this room knows that despite significant progress made over the last 30 years, there is still a huge gap in terms of trade finance as well as infrastructure development and financing. We are also well aware that the level of intra-Africa investment and foreign direct investment is quite low. For example, according to UNCTAD World Investment Report for 2024, Africa's total FDI inflow was 53 billion compared to 867 billion for developing countries, and only accounting for 4.1% of global FDI, which totals 1.3 trillion in 2023. There are obviously many factors that could explain this unacceptable state of affairs. But in our experience, one significant constraint in attracting finance is the absence of bankable industrial and manufacturing projects due to the lack of resources to undertake the necessary feasibility and technical studies that are required. In line with our objectives to promote ADI and FDI, we have organized several investment forums throughout the continent in partnership with the AfDB and other multilateral development institutions on the continent. So when the government of Zimbabwe requested us to partner with them to organize this investment forum, we gladly agreed to support this initiative as it is fully aligned with our strategy and objective. I do hope that today's forum will foster impactful business-to-business engagement and provide unique platform to showcase and delve into substantial investment prospect that the minister highlighted earlier on. At AfreximBank, we stand ready to support the trade and investment transactions and deals that will be agreed on the margins of this investment forum with our suite of financing products and initiatives. AfreximBank has developed solutions for our current and potential clients that include grant financing, project preparation financing, advisory and capital market solutions, capacity building and advocacy, equity and mezzanine debt financing, guarantees, solutions. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, allow me to highlight some of these financing solutions and initiatives the bank has developed in support of intra-regional trade and industrialization. We have what we call the Global Facility for Intra-African Champions, or Intra-Champs. This facility supports the intra-regional operations of African corporations, enabling market access and other forms of technical assistance across multiple countries in Africa. For example, we assisted Dangote's expansion into countries like Ghana and Tanzania in terms of cement manufacturing, Econet's expansion into the rest of Africa, El Swidi Electrical, Arab contractors' investments in Tanzania and East Africa. So far, we've disbursed over $10 billion to intra-champs between 2017 and 2023. I'm happy to announce that we have set aside $400 million for Zimbabwean-based Pan-African corporates who want to venture into the continent. We recognize the fragmented nature of production systems in the region. That is why we have rolled out our initiative for supporting the emergence and expansion of export trading companies to aggregate products for the export market. This initiative aims to close the big gaps in trade and market information the minister spoke about, as well as servicing the key sectors like agriculture with financing and other critical value chain mechanisms. In this regard, we have disbursed $3.5 billion to export trading companies operating in the regions in such countries as Tanzania, Malawi, Zambia, and Zimbabwe by integrating the agricultural sectors into the region as well as global value chains. I'm further pleased to inform this gathering that we are deepening this initiative to support and accelerate transformation of economies in the region, and will soon conclude a $300 million financing facility for ETC operations in the Republic of Malawi, which integrates production, processing, and exporting activities. Similar facilities are being rolled out in other countries. The bank is also implementing the Intra-Africa Engineer, Procure, and Construct EPC Contract Promotion Initiative to support the development of trade-enabling infrastructure across the continent. Ladies and gentlemen, the market for EPC contracts is estimated at $60 billion, and unfortunately is dominated by foreign entities that are fully supported by their governments, policy, and financial institutions to enable them to win EPC contracts on the continent. In order to put African companies at par with their foreign competitors, African Export-Import Bank is implementing an EPC initiative to support African contractors to win and execute major infrastructure projects across Africa. To date, we have supported companies from various African countries to win contracts valued at over $12 billion. The support provided includes twinning, financing to EPC contractors, insurance to cover construction risk, bid bonds, project completion, payment guarantees, and other guarantees. African Export-Import Bank has supported a number of companies to execute these projects, including Motor Angel Africa of Angola, with over 675 million euros over the past 5 years, as they rolled out projects in the rail, road, and other strategic infrastructure projects across the regions that are key to industrialization agenda. We have provided financing to Egyptian contractors, Arab contractors, El Swedi, to undertake project development in Tanzania. The bank also has established a subsidiary to provide equity financing. That is the Fund for Export Development in Africa, which provides patient and development equity to companies that are involved in intra-Africa trade, export development, and manufacturing in Africa. Working with the AfCFTA and to enable African countries to pay and settle their regional trade, we developed the Pan-African Payments and Settlement System, which was endorsed by the heads of state and government, which will facilitate the payment of trade between African countries in their local currencies. For example, an Egyptian exporter to Zimbabwe will be able to receive payment in Egyptian pounds, while the Zimbabwean importer will be able to tender payment using ZiG. PAPS, which is being piloted in the West African Monetary Zone, is being extended across the continent. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as the Minister of Finance and Investment Promotion highlighted earlier on, the agricultural sector is ideal for industrialization and value addition. That is why we at AfCFTA are working with strategic partners and member countries to facilitate the implementation of the Export Agriculture for Food Security Initiative, and have committed $2 billion to financing to boost production, processing, and intra-regional trade in agricultural products. This initiative will reduce dependence on other countries, other regions, for much-needed food commodities, lead to increased sales, better prices, and improved profitability for agricultural value chain stakeholders. For example, AfCFTA, working with Arise IPP, the government of Malawi, Chad, and Zimbabwe, we call them the pilot origin countries, executed a framework agreement on the sidelines of the 2023 Intra-Africa Trade Fair in November 2023 in Cairo. Egypt, this initiative is to jointly develop agricultural products for trade within the continent. Other key stakeholders who have expressed interest to support the implementation of this initiative include the World Food Programme, Government of Gabon, and Government of Egypt as potential off-takers. Currently, the bank is processing pipeline deals and transactions worth $500 million within the pilot origin countries. To be specific, in Zimbabwe, there are 7 priority projects that have been highlighted to us. The establishment of a cotton seed oil plant in Gokwe, which can produce 120 metric tons per day. The GMB silo storage expansion and upgrade project for strategic grain reserves. The proposal for the re-establishment of the Zimbabwe Regional International Beef Export Markets. Establishment of regional business units and aggregation centers, and the commercialization of 8 agricultural colleges. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, AfCFTA has developed other practical interventions to facilitate trade and investment. We all know that inadequate infrastructure hinders industrialization and the attraction of FDI and ADI. And our response to this challenge is facilitating and financing the emergence and expansion of industrial parks, export processing zones, special economic zones, focusing on light manufacturing and agro-processing. Through this initiative, the bank is acting as a catalyst to industrial development in Africa by directly addressing the hard and soft infrastructure constraints inhibiting industrialization and intra-Africa trade. To date, we have disbursed over $1 billion to facilitate the development of inside the fence and outside the fence infrastructure in industrial parks in countries such as Gabon, Togo, Benin, whilst advancing pipeline deals of over $2 billion across the continent, including SADC. In Malawi, we launched on the 1st of June this year an industrial park that we are building in conjunction with Arise IPP. As you may be aware, the lack of access to trade and market information is one of the reasons why intra-Africa trade is at the level of 14% of total Africa trade. In order to address this challenge, AfCFTA, working with the African Union and the AfCFTA Secretariat, began in 2018 to host the Intra-Africa Trade Fair as a key initiative. The Intra-Africa Trade Fair is held every 2 years to connect buyers and sellers across Africa, as well as investors, to invest in opportunities within this continent and address access to trade and market information as a key enabler for African trade. This partnership model will ensures that it is now the biggest platform for African public and private sector interactions. The 3 editions of the trade fair brought in more than 4,500 exhibitors and generated over $120 billion worth of transactions. The 4th edition, which will be held in Algiers, Algeria from the 4th to the 10th of September next year, is expected to attract over 2,000 exhibitors. I'm therefore calling upon all SADC countries, as well as business people here present, to take pavilions and participate in the Intra-Africa Trade Fair 2025. I therefore also ask you to participate this year in October, where we are hosting the African Creative Nexus, what we call CANEX, in Algiers as well, aimed at showcasing Africa's creative and gastronomy opportunities. This initiative is aimed at our youth and SMEs. I believe that the Intra-Africa Trade Fair and the Canex Week are a sustainable platform and gateway to trade and investment opportunities, and I do hope to see you there. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at AfCFTA, we do not just talk, but we do walk the talk. We have a range of products that will help you as business people to navigate the investment environment, not only in SADC, but in the rest of Africa, including providing you with facilities to do the technical studies, to partly finance the equity that is required, and the debt financing. Allow me to highlight some of the major projects AfCFTA has supported in the SADC region, which include the 70 million financing and provision of investment guarantees that unlocked 300 million for the Zimborders project in Zimbabwe. About 100 million investment towards the AfCFTA Africa Trade Center, which we are building here in Harare. In Botswana, we've provided 44 million for the diamond mine Lucara in Botswana. In Angola, we are providing 100 million for the Cabinda oil refinery, so as to provide Angola with refining capacity so that they don't import refined products. We are also working with Emulate petrochemical fertilizer plant in Angola. We have provided 529 million to Nyanza Light Metals Titanium Dioxide Pigment plant in South Africa, which is sponsored by many Zimbabweans. Our goal is to do more, and my hope is that this investment forum becomes the platform that generates a pipeline of investment projects that will steer industrialization of the SADC region. Esteemed guests, I want to emphasize that AfCFTA is unwavering in its dedication to catalyze transformation of trade and investment across the country. I thank you for listening.
Please, a big round of applause, Mr. Dennis Denya, Executive Vice President, AfCFTA. Now then, obviously we're here on the Investment Day, Investment Forum. And those of you who would like to visit companies here in Zimbabwe or in Harare, we announced that the company visits registration is now open at the desk outside. So if you'd like to register to visit companies, it's now open outside. And also, please don't forget to visit the exhibitions, all the stands. All the investment promotion agencies are here from all of 16 SADC countries, and of course all the different exhibitors are outside and also in the hall, not just from Zimbabwe but from all of SADC and some even from all around the world. Now please welcome and join me in welcoming our next speaker. Our next speaker will speak to Industrial Innovation Project Presentation, Spatial Development Initiatives, Mr. Fambaoga Muyambo. Mr. Muyambo, thank you. Thank you. Please, another round of applause, Mr. Muyambo. Thank you. Are you okay? It's coming. There we go.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremony. I can see that you were very generous with other people who were supposed to speak 5 minutes of ceremony. I want to recognize you. By virtue of the fact that this presentation is going to take only 5 minutes, I have a very many with salutations. But I'll also take advantage of the salutation done by Director of Ceremonies. But however, let me recognize the presence of Chief Guest, Honorable Dr. Comrade Chiwenga, who is our Chief of Guest. and also recognizing the distinguished guests who are here. Let me also take this chance to thank the promoters, the ZIDA, and those who invited us to come and make this presentation, which I think is very important, in which we are going to focus on Spatial at the Moment Initiative, SDI in short. What is it? Spatial at the Moment Initiative is something that we're talking about, a geographical areas that have been identified with the potential for the investment. All these things we are talking about now, they can all be put into one by SDIs, because the SDI methodology will give you a chance to invest through feeder project, which at the end of the day, after this presentation, you're able to know what feeder project are talking about. Who are we at the moment? SDI promotion team. The SDI promotion team here is responsible for actually talking about those feeder projects that are talking to our SDIs. For example, there is the North-South corridor, which is anchored on Durban. There's a Beira corridor, which is anchored on Beira. We'll talk about that, the anchor projects that are getting into those anchor projects. Because there's no need of talking about SDI without talking about those projects that talk to the SDIs that you're talking about. In other words, all sectors of the industry will be involved. Mining, we talk about, we have to go to transportation. Mining, agriculture products, we have to go to transportation, anchored on those SDIs. For example, Beira corridor, for instance, which is anchored on Beira port, which is anchored on Woza port, which cut across the whole region, the whole 3 countries, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Namibia. Then if this project, if these SDIs are materialized, it means Zimbabwe becomes a land-linked country as opposed to landlocked. We become land-linked because we'll be able to move our products from Beira, False Bay, and overseas. Next. I don't want to talk about that because we have already told you that who we are. We are there to promote feeder project into the main anchor project. When you say anchor projects, we are talking about maybe in each particular SDI, there must be my anchor project. And normally anchor projects are to do with transportation. You cannot do anything. You cannot have a plantation, a factory here, which is going to produce something. And that something which is going to be produced must move. Therefore, railways, roads becomes very, very anchor project in terms of transportation. Next. Okay, I talked about North-South corridor. North-South corridor, as you can see there, is anchored on Durban. Durban, Harare, Chirundu, Zambia, DRC. That's your North-South corridor. Or Durban, Bedbridge, Victoria Falls, Zambia, V. That is our North-South corridor, the mother of all corridors. Because the corridor that we are going to talk about now, maybe there will be tributaries to that mother of all corridors. The objective being that we are now supposed to come with feeder project that talk to that North-South corridor, as you can see on the map. Going home now, we talk about Beira corridor. Beira corridor we want to consider as a coast to coast. Why are we saying that? Because Beira corridor is coming from Beira to Walls Bay, coast to coast. There are only 2 coast corridors in the Southern Africa. One is Maputo corridor to Walls Bay. So we are also having Beira corridor to Walls Bay. They converge. So it covers 3 countries. Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Botswana, and Namibia, 4 countries. So those 4 countries now, in each country, we are supposed to have a feeder product that are talking to that corridor, that are talking to that Beira corridor, which we are going to see as we move on. Implementation for a greater regional integration now. We are talking about Zimbabwe now going home, closer home. There it is, Beira corridor, moving from Beira, Harare, Plumtree, Botswana, up to Rose Bay. In Zimbabwe, we are aware of those feeder projects that talk to our corridor. There's another very important corridor at home, the Limpopo SDI, or normally call it maybe Limpopo Valley Corridor. The Limpopo Valley Corridor there that you see, it anchored on Maputo, Chikwalakwala, and then Quero and Masvingo. It ends there. Then, of course, you see the North-South Corridor is also touching Zimbabwe because it's passing through here in a V form, where it is Bed Bridge to Victoria Falls, then outside Zimbabwe. The same thing, Bed Bridge, Harare, Chirundu, and then up there. But we are talking about home now to say, this is Zimbabwe. What is it that we are doing to those corridors? Those corridors are not only in Zimbabwe, are not ending in Zimbabwe, they're ending other countries. They're touching 2, 4, 5 countries. As you can see, the North-South corridor will touch about at least maybe 7 countries. But now, we are interested in saying, what are we doing in Zimbabwe to make sure that those corridors are taken care of? Finally, because the master of ceremonies, the director of ceremony is now chasing me from him. However, the most important part of this presentation is that project, investment project, along corridor that you are talking about. If you look at that presentation there, you will find that we've got corridors by their status, and then we could feed a project that talk to the corridors, and we've got provinces that are affected, the current situation, how much money is required to come out with those projects. If you see Beira Corridor, for instance, there is some pipeline project which is touching Beira, Harare, all over to Botswana and so forth. That is to us just an example to give us an idea of what we are doing. This is what we are doing as their promotion team, to come out with those feeder projects that are talking to those corridors that are already there, because those corridors have been started, people have started and say, North-South corridor is vital, Beira is vital, and therefore we can now take advantage. Don't worry about what happened. The feasibility studies were done, so we take advantage of those corridors. There are many corridors that you can talk about. But for example, this is what you can talk about in Zimbabwe. We are appealing to our counterparts in Mozambique, in Botswana, in Namibia, to talk about the anchor project for their country, so that it becomes a corridor which is having anchor project from Z to A. We can't just talk about Zimbabwe Beira corridor project there, but we also want to know the project which are in Mozambique feeder project, so that we can take it, we can talk as one project. Finally, who are we? For those who want to probably talk more about the corridors, we are there. The team is there, as you can see. We are ready for you to discuss more, because this is a short time that you were given, but we are ready for you to discuss and see whether we can give you more feedback. The projects are, this team works, talks, dreams, projects, development. So you don't worry. Anytime, we are happy about the people that were complaining, who were talking about the money here. We are very excited about the money issues, because we will be visiting them and say, look, this is what you can find, because we are there to help the region to move on forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. A big round of applause for Mr. Mayambo. Of course, Mr. Mayambo is around, so if you need to speak to him about any of the Spatial Development Initiatives, he's there, as are any of our other presenters. AfCFTA, for example, will be here, and our other distinguished speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the day 2 of the 7th SADC Industrialization Week 2024. Of course, today, day 2, Investment Forum, Investment Conference. And of course, for wherever you are in the SADC region, please keep watching us, not just today, but throughout the whole week on Zim Papers TV network, on Facebook page, and at ZTN Prime on Facebook, on YouTube and other channels. And of course, Ministry of Industry and Commerce will also stream this live on their platforms. Now, please join me in welcoming our next speaker. Presentation on AfCFTA Bank's interventions to promote and facilitate investment in Africa. Dr. Gaynmore Zanamwe, Acting Director, Trade Facilitation and Investment Promotion. Please, Dr. Gaynmore, big round of applause, please.
Thank you very much, MC. I think I'll basically ride on what President Obasanjo told me, that when you are pressed for time, you just say, all protocol observed. And that's what I'll just do. But I'll acknowledge our Honorable Vice President and all the Honorable Ministers. I think for AfrEximbank, you've heard from my Senior Executive Vice President, some of the key things that we are doing to facilitate trade, investment, industrialization. I'm really happy to be back in the SADC region because we started this whole journey. For some of those who know me, I was in SADC. I'm really happy that the SADC Business Council is actually matured and has been doing a lot more work in terms of now promoting the public-private sector dialogue. This is actually key for industrialization. Industrialization, in simple terms, we define it as that engagement between the government and the public sector on how to take the country forward in terms of industrialization. So what I want to do is basically very simple. You have heard about all the key financing, facilitation, risk-bearing instruments that we have to support trade, industrialization, and investment from my Executive Vice President. What I want to do is to actually go a bit granular, especially for the benefit of those investors who are here, who are listening online. We know that a number of you have been trying to come to Zimbabwe, have been trying to go to a number of SADC countries, and you always are encountered with a number of challenges. It could be the ease of doing business. We've heard from the Honorable Minister that they've done some reforms. We've actually seen that. And when ZIDA was actually put in place, there was a lot of reforms that was done to promote the investment environment. We have seen that in other SADC countries. But out there, what we keep on hearing from other players outside Africa, they always see Africa as one dark continent. They paint it with one big black brush. What we've tried to do at AfrEximbank is now to come up with those instruments that will assure those investors that want to go to Botswana, to Namibia, to Zimbabwe, to Malawi, to say, as AfrEximbank, we are a Pan-African multilateral financial institution. We understand the African risk. We will handhold you as investors, take you to those countries. We will assure them to say, go and invest. If anything goes wrong, AfrEximbank will back you. So these are some of the instruments that I just want to highlight briefly. I will not spend much time on the mandate. I think you know us and what we focus on. But what I want to highlight is that the DNA of AfrEximbank is to tap into the existing potential that we have. We heard from the Honorable Minister of Finance that we've got a lot of resources, but our people don't eat potential. We need to find a way of turning those resources into something through mineral beneficiation, agro-processing. At AfrEximbank, we've put in place a number of interventions to actually try and support these. I'll basically focus on one key aspect, which we call ADI, the Africa Direct Investment. There's been talk more of foreign direct investment, which is good, we welcome it. But we have actually done a very interesting study which revealed that if we do more in terms of focusing on promoting Africa direct investment, it is likely to be more sustainable. This is the likes of Dangote investing in Africa. We need to find many Dangotes here in Zimbabwe, in Botswana, in Malawi, and support them to be able to invest in Africa because they understand our terrain, they understand our environment, they understand our risk. So we really need to do more to support them. And at AfrEximbank, we've put in place a number of instruments to actually do that. We've been doing more on the trade side, and over the past 5 years or so, we actually managed to disburse over 20 billion to support trade. And we are going to double that to 40 billion by 2026. But on the investment side, we've actually realized that even if you take all the DFIs in Africa, put them together, we'll have plus or minus around 65 billion in terms of our balance sheet. But the infrastructure gap is huge. So we actually have resorted to the fact that we will need now to rely more on attracting investors from Africa and abroad to be able to close this gap. So that's why we came up with the concept of ADI, Africa Direct Investment. We've been working with the countries, partnering with them. We do investment promotion. We do investment facilitation. We actually organize investment forums. To date, we've done this in Zambia, in Kenya, and we've actually helped these countries to generate over 5 billion in terms of investment. So these are some of the things that we are actually trying to do. And I will basically probably skip some of the issues on investment promotion I've already covered. In terms of guarantees, these are the instruments that I was talking about. We've got a whole range of guarantees, as my Senior Executive Vice President highlighted. We will use these as country risk guarantees, payment guarantees to assure investors that when they invest in Zambia, in Malawi, in Zimbabwe, they will be protected. These are the instruments that we have actually put in place. And you can come and talk to us about all these guarantees for infrastructure projects, energy projects, and I think the minister talked about the DRC Zambia project that we are working on. We will also back all these projects with our guarantees. There are a number of challenges we have been hearing all the way from the Inga Dam, which has been on talk, on papers. AfrEximbank is also throwing its weight to try and support those projects to see the light of the day. And I think we talked about the equity that we also provide and the project preparation facility that my Senior Executive Vice President talked about. The most important link between this and investment promotion is that most of the countries that we have been engaging, the major issue is that they receive investment proposals from investors. But some of them, they actually require more work in terms of preparation to become bankable. This is where now at AfrEximbank, using our investment promotion arm and our project preparation facility, we handhold the investors and work with the countries to make sure that the projects become bankable. And it's a facility that we've been deploying in a number of countries. We also have got a diaspora strategy, which will help us to basically bring investment and the capital expertise from the diaspora. And this is another important thing that we are working on. And I would like to also echo the words that have been highlighted by my SCVP to invite you to Algeria. The most important thing that I want to focus on is that as part of the trade fair, we have an investment forum. So I would like SADC to get organized as a bloc to come and pitch your regional projects as SADC at the Intra-African Trade Fair, so that we mobilize all the DFIs and other financial entities to be able to support those projects that we have under the SADC Regional Development Master Plan. I think that's what we also want to do at IATF in Algeria next year. And this is basically the end of my speech. I want to echo what has been highlighted by the minister, that SADC has already identified key priorities in terms of agricultural production, agro-processing, mineral beneficiation. We have been hearing about some of those things, but it is now time to use African financial resources, African expertise to take our continent forward. SADC is not poor, Africa is not poor, we have the resources. We just need to work together and do it. Thank you very much.
Please, big round of applause, Dr. Gaynmore Zanamwe. Thank you, Dr. Gaynmore, Acting Director, Trade Facilitation and Investment Promotion at AfrEximbank. Now then, I do want to also acknowledge one other company that has contributed personally to me, of course, and that's Edgar's, because they have outfitted me this morning. So big round of applause to Edgar's. Thank you, Edgar's. Now then, I'd like to now call upon our next speaker for some remarks. AfDB Head of Mission, Ms. Muno Mupotola. Please, Ms. Muno, thank you. Big round of applause for her. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Master of Ceremonies. Good morning to you all. Let me ride on the protocols already established, but let me recognize the Honorable Deputy President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Honorable C.D.G.N. Chiwenga, the Minister of Finance, Honorable Mutuli Ncube, and also the Minister of Industry and Commerce, Honorable Mangaliso Ndlovu. Let me begin by expressing the African Development Bank's pleasure to sponsor and to be associated with the 7th Southern Africa Development Community Industrialization Week, whose theme, promoting to unlock opportunities for sustained economic growth and development towards an industrialized SADC, resonates with the work that we do at the African Development Bank. In fact, our key priority areas include Light Up Africa, Feed Africa, Industrialize Africa, Integrate Africa, and improve the quality of life of Africans. But within Southern Africa, we've worked very, very closely with the private sector, and in 2023 alone, our investments totaled about 1.9 billion in the Southern African region. And our focus has really been in areas of regional integration, industrializing the sub-region, but also providing support, including climate resilience support to countries in the sub-region. At this juncture, I'd like to talk a little bit more about, I was very intrigued by the Permanent Secretary when he said radical industrialization. And I think that's what we should try and look at within this sub-region, because we have to take advantage as we innovate of some of the opportunities that this region has. So for example, when we look at the transition to green energy or the net zero emission global economy, it is estimated that this will reach about 16 trillion United States dollars by 2030. Now, this is just for 4 minerals only: copper, nickel, cobalt, and lithium. And yet, this region is blessed to have to have all these ingredients, to have these ingredients turn into processing and also into high-value goods. In fact, the whole of Africa stands at 30% of all critical minerals in the world are actually found in Africa. Within SADC, we have 70% of cobalt output from DRC and Zambia. We have 36% of manganese from South Africa. Zimbabwe, where we are, is the 7th largest global lithium producer in the world and the largest in Africa, and sits on unmined deposits. We also have nickel. We have 22% of graphite in Tanzania and Mozambique, and 6% in Zambia, of copper, in Zambia and DRC. So one of the things I'd like to just highlight is how important it is for us to look at mineral-based industrialization. Because as we move to green growth or green energy, and we look at that value chain, things like batteries, electric vehicles, solar panels, wind turbines, all are important for this economy that we as a region in Southern Africa have all these ingredients. But one of the things that, when I've been looking at this subject, which really surprises me, is that we don't have a strategy for harnessing these gifts that we have in the sub. In fact, when I look, we have, if you look at the US, the EU, Australia, there's actually a partnership in the world called the Minerals Strategic Partnership. Not a single African country is part of that partnership. The EU, as far back as 2008, developed a critical minerals strategy, and we do not have that. And yet, when we look at the level of exports of all these critical minerals that are available within our sub-region, we only harness 40% of revenue from all those minerals. That's less than half. Everything is actually, most of the value is actually from outside. In fact, the largest exporter of batteries is China, followed by Singapore. And yet, we have the potential. But as one speaker said, we cannot live on potential. We need to see what we can do about it and actually try as much as possible to ensure that we have, we actually do the value addition in our region. Now, one of the things I find is that every country, when we talk about electric batteries, every country wants to do electric batteries in their country, but they do not want to actually do it at regional level or work as a region and try to develop value chains. We always, I always give this example when I talk about value chains, about the EU Airbus, where the actual assembly is actually done in France, but all the components of the Airbus are actually made throughout other parts of Europe and other parts of the world. So why can't we do the same in Southern Africa? Why can't we sit? Why can't we think through? Because I think we're quite smart here. Why can't we think through and actually start building these batteries, these electric vehicles, these turbines within Southern Africa? So in fact, next year, when we have the SADC industrialization week, it would be nice to have all the IPAs come together and actually produce a video which says, "Welcome to SADC," and this is what SADC can offer you. So let us use the continental free trade area to industrialize the continent, and I'm happy the Secretary General is here to speak to us. And let us use a value chain approach, and that's what we should try. And all the IPAs, the industrial promotion agencies, should get together, think about it, and come up with a strategy for critical minerals. I think this is very important. Let us collaborate on policies, looking at the business environment, and as we attract investment to this region, let us make sure that we're speaking to each other and actually thinking bigger than the country, because most of the time we're looking at our own countries. Let's think bigger than the country, and let's think regionally. Let's look at the infrastructure. Let's revise them, because, for example, railways. A lot of our goods are being transported using road, and it's just decimating our roads. And it's also not efficient. So let us try and revitalize our railways. This is something that the ADB has been very keen on doing within the sub-region. We see Zimbabwe as a very key interlocutor for railways. In fact, I was speaking to the Minister of Transport of Mozambique to say, yes, you have a very nice railway that gets to the border, but if we don't tackle the railway system in Zimbabwe, then your investment will not be efficient. So for us, we think that tackling a regional railway system, which is already in place, by the way. These were done before independence. So why can't we just revive them? Because in other parts of the world, I mean, I was fascinated one time, I visited Mongolia, and actually there's a railway that runs from China, passes through Mongolia, goes through several European countries, all the way to Germany. And it only takes 2 weeks to move goods between 3 different continents, and I think 7 countries. So we can actually learn from that. And that also speaks to looking at some of the border processes that we have, the trade facilitation instruments that we adopt within the region. Of course, I've got 1 minute. So let me also look at energy. Again, let us build regional infrastructure. And finally, let me talk about AI, because it's very interesting that even with critical minerals, there's a company called Cobalt Minerals, which has invested 150 million in Zambia. But how they discovered the largest copper deposit within the sub-region was using AI. So let us use, through the ministries of education, look at our education system. How do we come together as a region to ensure that we have the talent that can then push us forward? What can the bank do? So as the bank, I'll not go through the suite of instruments that we have, but we are here to help the sub-region, where we use a lot of blended finance instruments, including our concessional fund financing, guarantee instruments. We have about 80 million per year for our private sector here in Zimbabwe. We have the Africa Legal Support Facility, which provides legal support to our member governments. We also have the Africa Natural Resource Center, which provides policy advice. And finally, something that the minister spoke about this morning, which is the SADC Development Fund. I hope this is something that we can support, because this is something that the ADB is supporting, because we believe it will go a long way in building some of these development projects that we have within the country, but most importantly, connecting the region. So let me end here, and thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much indeed. Sorry about that. Please, a big round of applause. Ms. Muno Mupotola, AfDB Head of Mission. Regional value chains, regional supply chains, regional integration, cooperation, but also, of course, as she spoke and as did AfEximbank, the enabling environment for us to be able to achieve industrialization, infrastructure, power, for example, are probably critical areas which we know that the SADC leaders are seized with discussing, because, of course, it's all about SADC citizens, wherever you may be. And this takes us to probably one of the most important agreements signed with African nations forever. And that probably is after the African Union and, of course, SADC. But this agreement can change, will change, I believe, the face of Africa, and also uplift all our citizens to higher standards of living. I'm talking, of course, about the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. And to talk to us on that issue, please join me in welcoming H.E. Wamkele Mene, Secretary General, African Continental Free Trade Area. Sir, please. Please, a big round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Program Director. Honorable Vice President, Retired General Dr. Chiwenga, Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Honorable Minister Ngobizita Mangaliso Ndlovu, Minister of Industry and Commerce, Honorable Professor Ngube, Minister of Finance, Economic Development, Investment and Promotion, Honorable Minister Ambassador Shava, Minister of Foreign Affairs, various ministers that are here, state ministers, President of the Senate, Executive Vice President Dennis Dania, Madam Deputy Executive Director of SADC, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, High Commissioners, business leaders that are here, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for me to be here in Zimbabwe, this being my 4th visit in less than 10 months. I'm very happy to be here representing the elected leaders of the Union. I want to first congratulate SADC and the government of Zimbabwe for convening us for this very important dialogue that will take place over the next few days. As you are aware, SADC adopted the Industrial Development Strategy and its roadmap in 2015, followed by an action plan in 2017. At that time, I had the privilege of attending the 2017 Summit of Heads of States on behalf, or in my previous capacity, which adopted the roadmap as well as the strategy for SADC's industrialization. Today, SADC is showcasing significant projects that illustrate tangible benefits of committed industrial policy and the results that we see when we apply ourselves in a disciplined manner in the implementation of an industrial strategy. Notable among some of these achievements are the projects within the ARV value chain, which is active in Eswatini, Lesotho, Malawi, South Africa, and Zimbabwe. Additionally, the leather value chain and the project that commenced in the United Republic of Tanzania and in Zimbabwe further underscores the importance of these efforts aimed at accelerating industrial development in the sub-region. These initiatives align very closely with the overall mandate of the AfCFTA and the priority value chains that have been identified by the Assembly of Heads of States and Government, which are pharmaceuticals, agro-processing, the automotive sector, as well as transport and logistics. We identified these key value chains as drivers of Africa's industrial development, contributing to job creation, innovation, and competitiveness. The theme for this year's event, promoting innovation to unlock opportunities for sustainable economic growth and development towards an industrialized SADC, aligns perfectly with the vision of the AfCFTA, which, as I mentioned earlier, is to unlock industrial development through innovation and economic growth. Indeed, innovation is the cornerstone of any modern economic development cycle, serving as a link that transforms traditional industries and unlocks future opportunities. By turning challenges into stepping stones for future prosperity, innovation fosters an ecosystem that promotes creativity and technological advancement. This approach is key to achieving sustainable and inclusive economic development, not only in the sub-region of SADC, but across the African continent. Across the sub-region of SADC, numerous innovations and initiatives exemplify the transformative power of technological innovation in spurring on economic growth. Notable amongst some of these projects include Botswana and Namibia's collaboration on the mega solar project, Zambia's e-voucher system in agriculture, Zimbabwe's EcoCash, and South Africa's advanced manufacturing capacity in the automotive sector. Yes, these successes are notable. However, the region continues to confront the need to accelerate infrastructure development, which we heard about today, affordability of trade finance, limited digital skills, constrained funding amongst other challenges. These challenges should serve as opportunities for SADC to take the necessary steps and measures to establish innovation as a strong pillar for industrial development, economic integration, and creating competitiveness in the region. The AfCFTA, as you know, has significant potential to drive innovation and industrial development across the African continent. It is a market of 1.4 billion people, with a combined GDP today, as we speak, of 3.4 trillion United States dollars, which is projected by the year 2030 to be close to 16.2 trillion United States dollars, and by the year 2050 to boast the youngest working force in the world and the largest population in the world. The potential of this market presents opportunities for SADC to expand market access, investment, and trade into other regions of the African continent. Through harmonization of rules such as customs systems, trade facilitation, reducing barriers to trade, the AfCFTA presents an opportunity for Africa to accelerate competitiveness and deepen market integration. We have recognized the need to advance in the area of technology, and that is why the heads of states of the African Union adopted in February this year the Protocol on Digital Trade. The Protocol on Digital Trade presents a forward-looking approach to Africa's digital competitiveness. Not only does this protocol include single payment systems, digital infrastructure investment, data protection, and cross-data flows, but it also presents us with an opportunity to include young people, digital innovators, as well as small, medium enterprises. I'm very pleased to announce that in addition to this digital trade protocol, the heads of states, when they convened in February, adopted the Protocol on Women and Youth in Trade. The first of its kind protocol around the world, which positions the African continent to move beyond aspirations of inclusivity of women and youth, but into the realm of codifying these aspirations into legally binding commitments to enable these very important segments of our society to reduce and eliminate barriers to trade. It is important to highlight that our efforts in the implementation of these protocols are supported by our development finance institutions, Afrexim Bank, African Development Bank, as well as Africa Finance Corporation. As we approach the turn of the century, 1 in 4 people around the world will be African, predominantly with youth here in this region of SADC. We therefore have a particular responsibility to harness the opportunities that these various configurations on our continent, economic regional communities such as SADC, to harness them under the framework of the AfCFTA. Let me close by mentioning agriculture. In the area of agriculture, we recognize the challenge that our continent confronts. Our continent imports close to $50 billion worth of basic agricultural products per year, including rice, wheat, and other grains. Yet we do know that we have, as Africa, the capacity not only to feed ourselves, but to feed the rest of the world. That is why we're working with governments across the African continent, including here in Zimbabwe, to leverage on agricultural export capacity to enable countries on the continent and in the sub-region to feed themselves, to ensure food security in their countries, to export excess grains and excess foods to other parts of the continent so that we reduce reliance on others in other parts of the world to feed the African continent. The ministers of trade are actively seized with this matter, and in due course, they will present to the Assembly of Heads of States and Government trade instruments that will unlock and enable the African continent to accelerate food security, to accelerate basic agricultural products, trade on the African continent, to reduce imports from other parts of the world. The recent milestones achieved across the region, including here in Zimbabwe, as we have heard, must be supported by trade instruments that are continental in nature. These continental trade instruments include, as I mentioned, the AfCFTA to grant access of Zimbabwe's agricultural products and SADC's agricultural products to other parts of the world at preferential rates to enable competitiveness in respect of other imports from around the world. We must proudly proclaim that we will use the basic instruments, the trade rules of the AfCFTA, not only to create competitiveness, innovation, but also so that our markets, whether it is in industrial production capacity or indeed agriculture, as I've just mentioned, or digital innovation, that these tools at our disposal must accelerate. They must accelerate our continent in a forward-looking manner so that by the turn of this century, by the year 2050, as we proclaim that the youngest working force in the world will be in Africa, that we position young Africans, the continent becomes globally competitive, as I believe it should be, and that at that point, our continent becomes the 7th or even 5th largest economy in the world in terms of combined GDP across the continent. I therefore wish all of us very, very good deliberations over the next few days, and I want to once again thank SADC and the government of Zimbabwe for the invitation. Thank you for your attention.
Please, a big round of applause, His Excellency Wamkele Mene, Secretary General, African Continental Free Trade Area. The Africa is not about governments, is it? Government can put in the enabling infrastructure. It's about some of the people who are in this room and some watching us online and on channel DSTV 294 on ZTM Prime. It's about business. It's about the private sector driving business between our nations. And that is why we have these investment forums, not only in the 7th SADC Industrialization Week, but all around the world. Afreximbank, AfDB as well, have these type of forums so we can drive the private sector to take advantage. If I talk about Zimbabwe, for example, one of the things that we always hear from companies that they're scared of the African Continental Free Trade Area. They seem to not know what it is and so forth. There's still a lot of work to be done to bring the private sector, particularly the SMEs, MSMEs, to the party. But I know that the Secretariat is doing exactly that. Thank you, Your Excellency Mene. Now then, to introduce remarks and introduction of our guest of honor, I'd like to welcome, please, and I'd like you all to join me in welcoming Zimbabwe's Minister of Industry and Commerce, Honorable Ngobizita M. Ndlovu. Minister, thank you. Please, a big round of applause. Minister of Industry and Commerce, thank you.
Thank you very much, Program Director. I want to recognize our guests of honor. I recognize our Minister of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution, our host minister, Senator Tawengwa, and other ministers of state here present, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Ambassador Dr. Shava, Minister of Finance, Professor Ngube, other colleague cabinet ministers here present, Secretary General, African Continental Free Trade Area, His Excellency Wamkele Mene, Deputy Executive Secretary, SADC Secretariat, Ms. Angel Makombo Ntumba, President of Senate, Honorable Chinomona, members of the Politburo, I also recognize the chair of the Elders Council, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Honorable Deputy Minister Modi, and other deputy ministers here present, members of Parliament and Senate who are here, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, Dr. Ushe, and other senior government officials here present, His Worship the Mayor, Farare, Councillor Mafume, and other councillors who might be here. I recognize the Executive Director, SADC Business Council, Chief Executive Officer, CZI, UNIDO Deputy to the Director General, Ms. Fatou Haidara, other development partners here present, captains of industry and commerce, investment promotion agencies from Zimbabwe represented by ZIDA, and others from the region, distinguished investors and exhibitors, members of the media fraternity, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to start by welcoming you yet again to this inaugural investment conference that we are co-hosting with the SADC Secretariat, the SADC Business Council, CZI, and ZIDA. As we gather throughout this week to ponder on strategies to drive industry in the region, we are alive to the daunting challenge of attracting quality investments into the region. It is my hope, therefore, that our investment promotion agencies and the private sector will take advantage of this rare opportunity to forge partnerships and perhaps settle deals that will transform our economies and the entire region. Similarly, it is my hope that our esteemed investors will appreciate the vast investment opportunities Zimbabwe and the SADC countries have on offer. Today is a clear commitment that the region is ready to receive quality investments, and more importantly, your presence here assures us that you are ready to embark on the industrialization journey with us. The SADC region's manufacturing sector remains heavily subdued, and this is a cause for concern because therein lies our greatest opportunity to create jobs and drive economic development. Our failure to industrialize will inevitably lead to dire consequences where we are helpless consumers of what others produce. Moving our economies up the value chain is therefore our fighting chance to navigate and conquer the intense competition that lies ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I stand before you to introduce our esteemed guest of honor. As we introspect on the ever-evolving investment landscape in Southern Africa, the presence of our guest of honor today adds invaluable insight and experience to this crucial conversation. The theme for the SADC Industrialization Week Investment Conference, I quote, promoting innovation to unlock opportunities for sustainable economic growth and development towards an industrialized SADC, close quote, perfectly aligns with our guest of honor's unwavering commitment to development, with particular focus on leveraging our heritage and diversity. His extensive experience in economic development and proven track record of success makes him a true inspiration for all of us who strive for a more industrialized and prosperous SADC. Our guest of honor superintends over economic ministries in government to ensure coordinated implementation of our country's National Development Strategy 1 programs and projects under this purview. His presence here bears testimony to the significance he places on fostering economic development process by giving it the requisite impetus. Our guest of honor is an academic and researcher and has keen interest in discussing African military and political history, regional and international conflicts, peace and security, and indeed regional integration issues. Distinguished guests, our guest of honor is a holder of a first-class master's degree in business administration. He also holds a master's degree in international relations and a doctorate in ethics. Besides his acumen as a military and political strategist, our guest of honor, ladies and gentlemen, is an accomplished farmer and a professional hunter. Throughout his career, he has consistently championed regional cooperation and integration. He is a strong advocate for SADC's regional indicative strategic development plan and has played a key role in shaping the investment landscape in our region. His leadership and vision are an inspiration to all of us working to unlock the full potential of investment in Southern Africa. I have no doubt that his insights today will prove to be invaluable as we chart a course for a more prosperous and sustainable future for the region. It is now my honor to humbly invite our esteemed guest of honor, the Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, General Retired Dr. C.G.D.N. Chiwenga, to deliver his keynote address. Honorable Vice President, sir.
Please be seated. Director of Ceremonies, Mr. Andy Hodges, Minister of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution, Harare Metropolitan Province, Honorable Charles Tavengwa, Minister of Industry and Commerce, Honorable Mangariso Ndlovu, Minister of Finance, Economic Development, Investment Promotion, Honorable Professor Mturi Ngcuve, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Honorable Frederick Shawa, and other ministers here present. Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area, His Excellency Wamkele Mene, welcome. Deputy Executive Secretary SADC Secretariat, Ms. Angel Mukombo Ntumba, and officials from the SADC Secretariat. President of the Senate, Honorable Mabeo Memory Chinomona, and let me recognize our Deputy Minister of Industry and Commerce, Honorable Raj Modi, and other Honorable Deputy Ministers, members of the ruling party Politburo here present, and let me also on this special occasion recognize the Secretary General of our sister party, SWAPO, Comrade Sophia Shaningwa, welcome. And let me also recognize members of your delegation, and we wanted to welcome you warmly to Zimbabwe, and also for this business forum. Honorable members of the Senate and Parliament, Deputy Chief Secretaries, Permanent Secretary for Industry and Commerce, Dr. Thomas Utete Ushe, and other Permanent Secretaries. And let me recognize the Executive Director of SADC Business Council and the Chief Officer of the Confederation of Zimbabwe Industries, Mr. Kaya Kavarika, and all the investment agents represented here, captains of industry, distinguished investors, exhibitors, members of the media fraternity, ladies and gentlemen. Just a good afternoon to you all. On behalf of the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, His Excellency Dr. Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, and the people of the Republic of Zimbabwe and the Southern African Development Community, SADC, I am delighted to extend a warm welcome to the SADC Investment Conference taking alongside the 7th SADC Industrialization Week and exhibition. To our international and regional guests, I say to you, Bemvido, Karibu, Tigashire, Setule. Welcome to Zimbabwe, a world of wonders. I wish you all a present.
Apologies for that break in terms of transmission, but yes, the Vice President Harare International Conference Center, and as we have been talking about the Industrialization Week, which actually kicked off yesterday, where so much has already been happening, and we've already been hearing some of the speech from various key players who have come through to make sure that we do get to have this business ongoing. And you will remember that this is running under the theme promoting innovation to unlock opportunities for sustainable economic growth and development towards industrialized SADC. And when the Vice President was speaking right there, saying that Zimbabwe is indeed a world of wonders where so much business opportunities are available. And earlier on, we had a lot of presentations, the one starting through from the Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion, Professor Mthuli Ncube, who explained where the country is in terms of what is being done, what exactly are we targeting, and how best we can maximize and utilize this SADC summit that is coming, and particularly this particular Industrialization Week, where various companies that are in Zimbabwe are coming through, and obviously more is happening. And now let's try and cross over again and follow proceedings coming to you live from HICC. And we hope that very shortly our engineers will be able to work that out so that we get to hear the presentation again by the Vice President. Honorable Vice President, retired Dr. Chiwenga, was welcoming all the delegates. Like I was explaining, that there are so many various businesses from different sectors who have come through to showcase what they are doing and also to see where best they can work together. And remember, it is a regional summit, and obviously when you talk of business in Botswana, those in Zambia, and if you are in Zimbabwe wondering how maybe to penetrate a market in the next country, this is your platform, this is your time, and you can just visit the HICC and you also get to exhibit and also tell maybe what you do, how best you can collaborate with other companies, and other, like the theme is saying that
of lithium batteries and be a key player in the manufacturing of electrical vehicles. SADC member states should capitalize these resources and invest in value addition and beneficiation to maximize foreign currency earnings. and also develop our own skills. I think it is now high time that we should be proud of ourselves and stop always going to shop in other countries, but make our own things. In view of these, other key resources, SADC adopted the Regional Infrastructure Development Master Plan in 2012 at the 32nd Summit of SADC Heads of States and Government, which was held in Mozambique. This upscaled the development of priority projects across 6 clusters, which are energy, water, transport, meteorology, tourism, and information communication technology. I am delighted to note that the SADC Secretariat has developed a compendium of SADC investment opportunities, which highlights 45 key regional projects in infrastructure development. These should be implemented as they are essential for sustainable regional growth. Distinguished guests, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area presents opportunity for the SADC region to position itself as a premier investment destination in Africa. Collaboration to enhance productive capacities, competitiveness, and attract foreign direct investments is crucial. Let us leverage our comparative advantages such as peace and stability, educated populace, natural resources, favorable climate, and integrated transport infrastructure to boost productivity and seize trading opportunities under the African Continental Free Trade Area. In 2006, SADC adopted the Protocol on Finance and Investment to promote investment in the region. This protocol encourages member states to attract investors through favorable policies and registration. The SADC Industrialization Strategy and Roadmap emphasizes deeper integration to facilitate increased FDI inflows and integrate regional industries into global value chains. Member states are urged to implement these investment-friendly policies to attract FDI, increase production and productivity, and facilitate technology and skills transfers. We need competitive policies that attract and protect investments, as well as incentivize private sector investment to stimulate economic growth. Ladies and gentlemen, since 2014, when SADC introduced the SADC Industrialization Week for the first time, this Industrialization Week comes with a special edition of an investment forum whose thrust is focused on promoting intra-regional trade. We are proud to have introduced this special element, as the industrial agenda cannot be achieved without a corresponding drive to investment promotion. We have therefore invited investment promotion agencies to also showcase how they are promoting and incentivizing investment in various sectors to accelerate industrialization. Investment is crucial for economic growth and regional integration in SADC. As you deliberate during this conference, I urge you to come up with innovative ideas and suggestions on how each member state can improve the investment environment, promoting inter-regional investment and business environment. It is also imperative to implement investment cooperation activities between the private sector and member states to achieve SADC's goals on regional integration, industrialization, and infrastructure development. Coming back home, let me assure you that Zimbabwe is a safe and attractive investment destination. The government led by His Excellency the President, Comrade Dr. Emerson Damzo Mnangagwa, is committed to creating a business-friendly environment and attracting global investments. The Zimbabwe Development Investment Agency, ZIDA, and One-Stop Investment Services Center streamline investment processes, reducing registration timelines, harmonizing investment laws, enhancing investment facilitation, and prioritizing commercial viable projects will catalyze investment and economic development in the whole region. In this case, Zimbabwe presents opportunities for infrastructure upgrades, energy sector, and rich mineral resources, which offer diverse investment prospects for the SADC region and the world at large. Zimbabwe is open to new investment in the energy sector, and investors can explore opportunities in renewable energy sources, namely solar, wind, hydro, and thermal, such as gas and coal. As you may be aware, Zimbabwe is among the countries in the world endowed with over 60 tradable minerals, such as gold, platinum, diamonds, coal, nickel, among others, and 17 rare earth metals, rare elements that are critical in the technologically driven world. Investment opportunities therefore exist in greenfield exploration, value addition, and beneficiation. These opportunities can be explored through joint ventures with the various companies and also providing financial and technical support to small-scale miners. Opportunities are also abound in the agricultural sector, that is, in dam construction, irrigation development, value addition, and beneficiation. We also believe that developing the tourism sector promoting manufacturing through private sector participation, and investing in infrastructure will drive economic growth and job creation. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to commend the SADC Secretariat for continuing to engage development partners who have provided funding for SADC regional projects and activities. Our appreciation also goes to the cooperating partners, such as the ones who are present here, the European Union, the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, who have partnered the SADC region through the funding of technical assistance, which have been instrumental in the formulation of regional policies. As I conclude, let me reiterate that all of you must play your part in ensuring that the policies, strategies, and programs we have formulated as a region are implemented. It is incumbent upon us as leaders, both in government and in the private sector, to take charge and ensure that platforms such as this one do not just become mere talk shows. I urge you to engage and take advantage of this conference to establish contacts, synergies, and partnerships that can help propel our region forward. Let's all walk the talk. Let me encourage you all to take a tour of the exhibition stands by the SADC investment promotion agencies during the course of this Industrialization Week to further appreciate the investment opportunities that are offered within the SADC region. The exhibition includes various companies and micro, small, and medium enterprises from the SADC region who are showcasing products which are manufactured in the region. Let's seize this opportunity to share experiences, learn from each other, and propel the Southern African region forward through collaboration and innovation. With these remarks, I officially declare the investment conference open. I wish you all productive deliberations. I thank you. Merci beaucoup. Muito obrigado. Asante sana.
Thank you, Honorable General Retired Dr. C.G.D.N. Chiwenga, Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, for his keynote address and official opening. Thank you, sir. A big round of applause. Thank you, Vice President. Please be seated. Thank you. Now then, sir, Honorable Vice President, I would like to now call upon the Minister of Industry and Commerce, Honorable Ndlovu, to just give you the gift of appreciation, sir. Thank you. Mr. Vice President, sir. Thank you, sir. There we go. I think those are some of the things that people can come look at, the investment opportunities and the products that we can export. Oh. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Thank you. Again, I'd also like to acknowledge and welcome members of the ruling party Politburo as well as party members. Thank you for attending. So now we've come to that point where the Vice President will be leaving us, but before we do, sir, just to announce that there will be a photo shoot. It will be outside HICC, and I'd like to ask the top table to please join the photo shoot. The SADC Secretariat, please also join. Those who were in the briefing this morning, and Mr. Denya, if you could also please join. Please can we stand as our guest of honor leaves us. Thank you very much indeed. Big round of applause. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. It's a pleasure. See you next time. Thank you. Right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, because we ran a little bit early this morning, we will be taking 1 hour break. We'll reconvene at 1:30 p.m. 1:30 p.m. So you can have your lunch. We'll reconvene at 1:30 p.m. Thank you. See you at 1:30 p.m. And anyone who's found any lost car keys, please turn them in to the desk. Lost car keys, I think it was at the back. Please can you turn them in? Thank you.
Chigicha originated within the Ndebele people of Mwamulawayo under the leadership of the great king Umzilikazi Kamachobana.
The 7th SADC Industrialization Week has been officially opened here at the Harare International Conference Center by Vice President General Retired Dr. Constantino Chiwenga. Of course, he touched on many areas, particularly to do also with the need for SADC member states to come together to ensure that they beneficiate and also that they export processed goods and services. He also touched on the need for the private sector to join member states, to join governments in making sure that industry develops, in making sure that the necessary skills are also applied to various aspects. He mentioned issues of the mining sector, agriculture, and many others, the projects that are supposed to be invested in, also inviting investors. He has echoed President Emerson Mnangagwa's mantra that Zimbabwe is open for business, and Vice President Chiwenga also making the same call to investors, some of them who are already gathered here for the 7th Industrialization Week, as they interact with local investors here in Zimbabwe, and the need for that investment to come on board to ensure that the region is industrialized. Farai.
Ngiyabonga Justin, umsekeli kamongameli welizwe retired General Dr. Constantino Chiwenga usevule ngokusemthethweni umbukiso oqhutshwayo owe 7th SADC Summit oqhutshwa eHICC, ukukhuthaze ukuthi kube lokusebenzelana phakathi kwamazwekazi ase-SADC, ukuthi kube lengqubela phambili yokuthengiselana, imisebenzi yokuthengiselana, njalo kube lokulolongwa kwempahla ezitholakala kwamazwe aku-SADC. Sibona njalo futhi kube la kukhulunywa umphathintambo obona ngogatsha lwezemali ukhulume njalo ngengqubela phambili yenotho etholakala ngapha kuZimbabwe wakhuluma njalo ukuthi uhlangothi lwezokwemba lohlangothi lwezokulima luqhubeka kakuhle njalo ukhuthaze ukuthi kube lokusebenzelana phakathi kwamakampani azimele wodwa ukuthi ingqobela phambili inotho iqhubekele phambili ihle.
Certainly, Farai. Of course, Vice President Chiwenga made reference to the discovery of precious minerals such as lithium in Zimbabwe and in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and also referred particularly to the need then for the development of the mining sector with a special focus to the lithium mineral that is said is crucial for the development of the economies of the SADC bloc, making them able to play a crucial role at the global stage as producers and manufacturers of lithium batteries, as well as at a later stage of electric vehicles. This is quite a revealing aspect from the Vice President's speech, Farai, as he referred to the role that the SADC region can play, not only in the region or in local economies, but at a global scale.
Umsekeli kamongameli welizwe ubuye wakhuthaza ukuthi siziqhenye ngalokho esilakho sokuyisikhathi sokuthi silolonge impahla sisebenzise silakho ukuze sithuthukise inotho amazwe asekwazi akuSADC ale notho alayo asilolongeni sisebenze nzima ukuze sithuthukise inotho yeSADC.
Certainly, each and every member of the SADC regional bloc has a competitive advantage focusing on its particular economy, and growing these economies at individual and collective levels will indeed propel the SADC regional industrialization agenda and strategy forward. Remembering, this is a strategy adopted 2014-2015, ratified by member states as it was established at the SADC Summit of Heads of State and Government that was hosted by Zimbabwe in Victoria Falls in 2014, and today the 7th SADC Industrialization Week taking place here in Harare. And these are the sentiments coming out of this conference. We'll continue to give you updates from the Industrialization Week, and keep watching ZBC TV. I am Justin Matlatla.
Ibizo lami nguFarai Mongazi. Sibele ukubona ezinye inhlelo kakuhle ku ZBC TV.
ZBC Current Affairs, thriving for excellence and perfection in setting the agenda.